que Pasa Calexico. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I am here with somebody that you probably somewhere or another have heard about or met. He's been, somebody that's been involved in a lot of, projects and things here in Calexico. He's a founder of Mi Calexico. He ran for city council. He was part of the art walk scene, I guess, and now he has a project that we're here to talk about. That I want to help promote. My guest today is Angel Esparza. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to your home. Actually,
Thank you for this opportunity. I've been wanting to be on this podcast for a while. I was wondering when you were gonna call me.
I mean, I guess it was a perfect time because you have this big project coming up that like I told you before that you've helped people promote their businesses or events or whatnot, and now I feel like it was my turn to kind of like help you promote what you're doing and what your project is.
Thank you.
But before we get into your this project that you're working on, talk to us briefly about all the things and briefly all the things that you've been involved, like Mi Calexico, city council, running for city council, and the art walks.
Yeah. Well, I grew up here in Calexico, and my family wasn't really involved. I wasn't really involved. I mean, I went to Rockwood, Dianza, Calexico High School. And then after high school, I went to IVC, took some like graphic design classes there, marketing classes. And then I ventured out on my own. When I was 19, I tried to start up like my own little like graphic design. And I took the only $20 that I had and I invested it in some business cards. And those business cards, it was called Angel's Graphics. Very creative name. Entonces, y atrás decía t-shirts, logos, flyers, y no me acuerdo qué más. It was 4 things. So, I started that, like, doing graphic design, and I wanted to also create an event for the community back when I was 19. And so it was called the New Generation Fest. And because at that time I realized like there really isn't anything for the people from my age. And so me and a friend were trying to like put it together. And so there I reached out to, ¿cómo se llama? He was a mayor at that point. He has a AC conditioners, the AC company now, Luis Fuentes. So I reached out to him, and he pointed me to Hildy, and Hildy Carrillo was the director of the Chamber of Commerce. And so through her, that's when I got very involved with the community. And so around that time, I was still doing like the graphic design, and I did a logo for like the pool, like a pool event they did for the chamber. And then they had the Lava Lamp Awards coming up. And I remember I went to the event. I offered to sponsor like the photography. So I printed like a banner with like the logos of the sponsors. You've heard of the Lava Lamp Awards?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I heard, I've never been, but I've heard of them. Man.
So it's an event where they would recognize business people in the community that were going above and beyond. They weren't just having their business, they were giving back to the community. Usually business owners, because it's a Chamber of Commerce, but they would sometimes get political people, politicians, or just people in the community. And so they would choose 3. I was just taking pictures there, and I started to like just get to see like this whole other side of Calexico that I hadn't seen before. At that time, I was offering website services to like local businesses, because in 2009 there really wasn't like a web presence for local businesses, and I noticed that they couldn't really afford like doing everything that it takes to like not just set up a website, but getting people, the traffic to the website. So one day I was walking back home, and I thought, instead of charging a little bit to a lot of businesses, No, al revés. If instead of charging a lot to a little bit of businesses, es que siento que me estoy yendo otra vez. I'm getting too deep into it.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I started Mi Calexico to try to help like local businesses get a web presence, and I started to.
Yeah, and your kind of like your business idea was get a lot of businesses, charge them a little bit. That way it balances out, or like you're not charging them too much, but
Yeah.
you're at the end of the day, like you're making a little bit of profit,
Yeah.
and not but at the same time you're getting businesses because you're not overcharging them.
Right. Well, I wasn't overcharging.
No, that's
I
right.
was
Like,
probably undercharging
Yeah.
when I did offer Mi Calexico advertising there. I was charging $59 for 6 months of advertising, and it came with a photo shoot and like like a whole website, like a profile. And some of the businesses, like they were kind of they didn't really know, like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna work. I don't know if it's worth my $59. So what I did with some, like Disfrútalo, I told them, well, give me like half of it credit because I love your food, and then the other part cash. And then with the hair salon, I did that too. I remember Johnny Wong from Yum Yum. He's always been into the gym, and I was trying to get into the gym, and I said, give me one of your protein, because he had a bunch of proteins. He could give me one of your protein and the rest cash. So in that moment, that's when I got more involved with the community, started to see different sides of the community, and that's how Mi Calexico started. And then throughout the years, it just grew and evolved in a whole different direction than I thought initially. Initially, the slogan was "Discover the best of Calexico," because in that time, some of the local publications, I remember I would always see like negative stuff about Calexico.
Yeah.
Like if someone from Calexico did something bad, it was like Calexico man did this bad thing. But if someone from Calexico did something good, it was Imperial Valley man did this good thing. Y entonces dije, uy,
Oh,
temblor.
snap. Oh,
Damn.
shoot. Damn.
Let me just close the door real quick.
Oh, wow, that was a big one.
So as I was saying, ¿vas a ver de cuánto era?
No, I just want to see
Oh,
about
check on your family?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy. That was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue.
So I wanted to just focus on the good things. And I remember I asked Mr. Hargrave, I was talking to him at Yum Yum. Mr. Hargrave was then the president of the Chamber of Commerce and the owner of the Hometown Buffet.
Oh, okay.
And I asked him, why are all the newspapers in the news negative? Like, why isn't there a positive one? Sorry, es que está temblando.
Yeah.
Why isn't there like a news that only focuses on the positive? Dijo, Angel, there used to be a newspaper, I don't know where, I don't know how many years ago, but they went out of business because they only focus on the good things, and I guess people didn't want to hear the good things. Dije, pues no sé, but I want to just focus on the good things of Calexico, and that's why the slogan was Discover the best of Calexico. And I honestly started to see the best of Calexico. And I won't get too into it. If you want to know more about it, you're going to have to bring me for another episode so I can just talk about Mi Calexico. But eventually it led me to run for city council because I was noticing all the good, but I was also becoming aware of like everything that was going on in our community that nothing was being done about. And not always because they had bad intentions, but they just couldn't see Calexico in a different perspective. Like everyone has a different perspective, and I had one, and I said, well, I think no one has this perspective right now. I want to go in there. Like especially when it involved the youth, when it involved the arts, the business community as well, being so close to them when I was starting Mi Calexico and hearing all these issues. So yeah, I eventually ran for city council. We did the United We Can campaign. I ran with a few other friends that were part of Mi Calexico too. And one of them got in. Hector Martinez got into the Heffernan board. Tony Ramirez, he ran for school board. He was 21 at the time. He wasn't able to get in. That one was too tough. He was too young. I think he had a good perspective. I think it's an advantage to have like a young people so close to the students. But Calexico,
that age the age gap between the students and a lot of the board members is,
yeah, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And well, Manny Hernandez, he ran for city council with me. He wasn't able to get in. I got close. I lost by 43 votes to Bill Hodge. And but yeah, after that, I started to shift my focus. I was like, I still want to do something for the community. And that's when I got more focused on the art walk. And the art walk was something that was started by Roxana Pacheco and Fernanda Romero. Roxana came to me because she saw that other communities had art events. Brawley had the First Fridays. El Centro had the Main Street, Nights on Main Street. And she said, how come Calexico doesn't have anything for the artist community? And so I said, I'll help any way that I can. That ended up being me doing help promoting. And then I went to the event. I took pictures, posted them on Mi Calexico, and Cesar Casillas saw them, the manager of Gran Plaza Outlets, and he said, hey, we'd like to sponsor that event, bring it to the outlets, because back then the first time it was at the Cultural Arts Center. And so I said, well, te puedo presentar a Roxana. She's the one that started it. I'm just helping promote it. And so I went to the meeting. We sat there. I ended up getting way more involved, figuring out the logistics, the layout, some of the musicians, reaching out to getting more artists. It just started to become something that I was way more involved. And then as it started to grow, Roxana got busy with other things. She and we just kind of took it and just es que nomás como que pasó
yeah, it wasn't your plan to become, I guess, the main person for the art walks.
And at the same time, because I had a lot of passion for it, because I was noticing all these people that were artists, musicians, just painting at home or playing at the garages, and I would interview them or do videos about them, and I would be like, wow, there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of people that really want to give back to the community through different forms, but there wasn't a way for them to all come together. So it just grew, and the biggest art walk that we had 120 artists and vendors, and 4,000 to 5,000 people were in attendance.
It was the 4th of July one, right?
One of the 4th of July ones. And mira, te quiero decir una historia, pero pues por eso te digo que tengo muchas historias. I'll just save it.
Yeah.
I'll save it for the art walk episode of your podcast.
Yeah. So then, at this point we're kind of a little bit caught up to 2019-ish, when 2020, when the pandemic happened. And then, I remember seeing you posting, you drinking chai or I remember you posting a picture of you holding one of your containers.
Yes.
So that's when, and during the pandemic, that's when you kind of got into making and drinking chai.
Yes. Making it, yes. Drinking it, I probably tried it the first time in Starbucks 13 years ago. And immediately I was intrigued because it was such a different flavor. And every time I would go to cities, I would stop at their local coffee shops and just try their chai to see how it was, because everywhere I would taste it, it would taste different. And later on, when I researched, I realized that this is a beverage that's 5,000 years old, and that there's no one way of making it. It's kind of like a salsa, como hay diferentes tipos de salsa, hay salsa roja, salsa verde, salsa tatemada, y la salsa roja que hace mi mamá es diferente a la salsa roja que hace tu mamá. Entonces, there's no one way of making it. And so I thought that was really cool that you could kind of make it your own. And during the pandemic, I used my free time to just try to make my own chai.
And then, you started making your own, but how long did it take you to kind of? Because I'm sure that the first one you made wasn't your favorite or
my favorite. Yeah, definitely not my favorite. The first batches, I love to cook, and so when I'm cooking, if anyone here cooks, you can play around with it. Like you can just, lo echar poquito más de esto, poquito más de eso. And I went with that philosophy into making chai, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna add some. Okay, creo que le falta más clavo, le voy a poner clavo and cardamom. And then when I finally tasted like the final version, it would just get worse and worse. And I had to throw out like all the first batches, and I kind of like, I didn't give up, but I put it on pause. Like, okay, this is way harder than I thought. I'm just gonna, I've started to focus on other things. And then one day I just, like I had this feeling, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try it again, but I'm going to measure every single ingredient and write it down to make sure that, like, por si me sale bien, like, I have the exact measurements. So I did that. I remember I even sweetened it with piloncillo because I didn't have sugar, and I added piloncillo, and it was okay. It wasn't super good, but okay, I can work with this. I can play with this. And so in that process, I started to polish it, and every single day I would make chai from scratch. It was like a 20 to 30 minute process, like weighing every single ingredient, grinding it, experimenting with it. And when I was like, well, how am I gonna know when it's ready? Because I've never had the real thing. It's like trying to make a salsa, but you've never had an actual salsa. Yeah. You've had like salsa que venden en frasco de la Walmart, but that's not the real thing.
Or the Taco Bell.
Como los tacos del Taco Bell no son tacos de verdad.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what the final thing would taste like, but this crazy thought came in, which was, you'll know when you cry. Y dije, oh, okay, like, I don't know if I said okay, but I just had that thought. I was like, okay, that's an odd thought. And so I was polishing it, and I started to share it with friends, just to see like what they thought, but not telling them like, oh, I'm trying to make a chai, or I was like, oh, do you want to try this chai? I would always carry like a little bottle with me, or have friends over and make some for them. And I think there was 3 different occasions that made it clear that, okay, I'm onto something. The first one that I remember, it was with Alejandro Larios from Cerveza Fauna in Mexicali. I was meeting up with them for some work, and I had some chai with me. Le dije, ¿Quieres chai? And he tried it, and Alex is super expressive, and he was like, no manches, está bien rico, ¿cómo le hago para comprarte un galón? y yo como que, okay, so like if he has like a very, I think he has a good palate. Like they have one of the best craft beer in Mexico. If he likes it, maybe there's something there. And so taste wise, that kind of like confirmed me. And then I had this other friend from Tijuana, Ana Kolefni, and she said, I was having a conversation with her, and she told me about her being in India for 3 months to getting her yoga certification. And so when I shared it, when I told her like, oh, I make my own chai, because she said, oh, every morning before we would do yoga, we would have chai. And she had this phrase, no chai, no prana, like no chai, no energy. So you need this. And so I told her I make my own chai. I took some to her, and I remember I dropped it off, and then I left. And so I got a WhatsApp message, and she was like, no manches, this took me back to India. And so I was like there's something there. And then finally, I had this moment with a friend. She was going through a very difficult moment, and we were here, and we made chai from scratch. And before we drank it, we were both making it, and she had this very present situation that wasn't giving her peace. So when we started drinking it, we just automatically went silent. Like we didn't say anything. It just like we started drink, we went silent, and we just stayed silent for like 20 minutes. And then she just starts talking, because I felt she was like had her moment. So I just stayed quiet until she was ready. And she says, muchas gracias, Ángel. Like, esto me dio una claridad sobre la situación, y ya lo veo diferente, y like it kind of helped her like see the situation differently, and it gave her, even if it was just for that moment, it gave her that sense of peace. And so that's when I realized, like, more than the taste, for me, I think chai is important because of how it makes you feel. So after polishing it a bunch, friends kept saying como, why do you keep modifying it? It's already really good. Y dije, this isn't it. But internally es que no he llorado. I was starting to get desperate, because I had already done like over 100 variations. And then one time I tried it, and then I started to cry, and I said, is this it? Y no, it was just like
frustration.
the frustration of like, when am I gonna get to this? People are waiting, because by then I was already like selling it through my Instagram, and people were waiting for the second batch. Perdón. Y after I kept polishing, I didn't put it on hold, pero I started to get busy with other things. And one day a friend comes over, and Melissa, and she's here because she doesn't live here, and she's like, oh, like, let's get together for some chai. And so she got here. I made some chai from scratch, and I did like a little tiny tweak. And when I drank it, I just got this overwhelming feeling of gratitude. Y empecé a llorar. Dije, oh, this is what that was. So this is it. And that became it. And that became like the final version of it. And so the blend itself has like traditional ingredients like the cardamom, the ginger, the cinnamon, the black pepper, the black tea from Assam. And they're all organic. But I also added 2 functional ingredients. One is lion's mane mushroom, which helps with mental clarity. And I get it from Paul Stamets, which is a leading mycologist in the world. And L-theanine, which is an amino acid that helps you puts you in a calm but focused state. So for me, it was the beverage more than the flavor. As I mentioned before, it was like, how am I going to feel the rest of the day? And it's intended for, in that moment, my audience was like the creative community.
Yeah. Because that's the people that reach out to you the most for your chai, or just because you're somebody that's creative that want to have that connection with them, or what was the reason you were focusing on the creative community?
I think it was a little bit of both, and even like the art walk played a role on this, because being around so many creatives, I noticed how important your mindset is when you're creating. So I noticed there was a lot of anxiety. Myself too, would experience a lot of anxiety. And so coffee would sometimes get me in the zone and I would get everything done. And then other times I would just drinking and it would just get me all anxious and jittery, and I would be frustrated because like I have a lot of things to do and I can't be in the right mindset, because when you're doing creative stuff, like it reflects in your work. Like if you're having a conversation, even like this, like a podcast, if you're having a conversation with someone and you're anxious, like you might not ask the right questions or you might not listen intently, and that's going to affect the way the podcast comes out.
Yeah.
So, as I noticed within myself and within other people that they were looking for something different, and noticing and researching different ingredients that will get them into that mindset, that's how it kind of started to like take shape. And so even like the design reflects that. The color of the container is indigo, which is associated with the third eye, which is associated with intuition, creativity, and imagination. So everything just kind of like started to take that form for that community. But I mean, now everyone has enjoyed it. Like you don't have to be in that community to enjoy it, because if it's something that, for me, it's a moment to be present, because you would brew it, you would prepare it yourself, and you would drink it, and it would just it would allow you to be like stable throughout the day. Like you won't have like this big high and then this big low. You're just like good. So it's for anyone that just wants to be like present with whatever they're doing.
You mentioned the ingredients. You know, some of them help you. You know, be focused and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Is you know the is this something that is you know, scientifically, you know, based, or is it something that's you know, spiritual or like ancestral? Like, you know, people from the past say that, you know, we drink this and it helps us, you know, focus, or is it something, you know, do you think the ingredients are, like I said, scientifically proven that they do help you stay focused and stuff, or is it more of a, you know, spiritual belief in these ingredients?
In a way, it's both, and by both, like the spiritual element, like a lot of these ingredients, because chai is 5,000 years old, so they didn't have the scientific tools that they have now to like test these things. But you're seeing nowadays how a lot of these ingredients, like ginger, I think everyone knows ginger. Ginger helps with inflammation, and they knew it back then, but they didn't have a scientific way to prove it. But now science has caught up with that and shown like that all these different ingredients have these different properties. And the more modern ones, like the lion's mane, or more specifically the L-theanine, yo creo que L-theanine is the one that's studied the most, and it has practically no side effects, and that's why I opted for that. Every single ingredient I chose was specifically chosen because they had the least amount of side effects. Like there's some chais that have anise, and I opted to not use anise because certain people could have side effects. So there's the spiritual aspect, as you call it, but I would say more it's like the intuitive aspect that proved it thousands of years ago, and then there's the scientific studies that validated what they realized thousands of years ago.
Yeah. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to take this time to thank my sponsors. I want to thank my longtime sponsors, my friend Camilo Garcia, Eddie Lopez from Roots Creative, and my friend Jake. Thank you guys for being longtime sponsors of the podcast. I also want to thank my friends who sponsored the podcast in 2022. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your sponsorship. And if you want to become a sponsor, you can go to anchor.fm/Que Pasa Calexico. Hit the support button and you can sponsor the podcast from 99 cents a month to $10 a month. It really helps me a lot to make this podcast better, sound better, look better, and reach out more people by promoting the podcast in social media and other websites. So if you want to become a sponsor, make sure to go to my Anchor page, and I'll leave a link in the description of the show. So thank you so much. And now back to the show. Do you feel that, chai and practices like yoga and other spiritual practices that people, around the world practice, is it something that it is common in those fields, like in yoga? Because you mentioned your friend when she went to India, that's something that they did every morning. Does it go hand in hand, or is it just coincidence, or just because it's from India, yoga's from India and chai's from India, or do you think it's something that they use to get in touch with their spiritual being or world, or all these things that they believe in?
They definitely do go hand in hand. There's this it's like a science called Ayurveda, which goes hand in hand with yoga. Just how working out, you have people that go to the gym and they take supplements like pre-workouts, proteins, amino acids, all those things. It's kind of part of the culture because you have the physical aspect, and then like, well, how are you supplementing your body to like, if you want to get bigger, well, you're gonna need these things. So here with yoga means union, and usually it's referred to the union between the body and the mind. And Ayurveda translate in Sanskrit to the science of life. And so in Ayurveda, it's kind of like the medicine, because a lot of the things that they do are to rebalance the body. And so chai is part of Ayurveda, and there's a bunch of different types of beverages and dishes as well, and different kind of like supplements, but they go way deeper into like digestion, the mind, your breathing. Like it just really sees the body as a whole system and tries to rebalance it instead of like numbing it. And so yoga is the same way. Like if you have any kind of like mental disturbances like anxiety and stuff like that, well, it's kind of hard to control your mind with your own mind. Like if you're having too many thoughts and you're like, hey, stop thinking that. That's not, you just can't stop your mind with your mind. But you can stop your mind or control it with your body. That's why a lot of people, it's growing in popularity, like breath work, like different breathing exercises, because that's you can control, if you can control your breathing, you can control your heart rate, which will send signals to your brain saying like, hey, everything is all right. So the yoga is union between the body and the mind. And you're working with your body to just rebalance and reharmonize your mind. And you're using things such as chai and other Ayurvedic things to complement that.
Oh, okay. I see. So when you first started making your chai, did you have like a small grinder, or because I'm assuming you grind the ingredients, right?
Yeah. Es que se hizo curada. We went from that to, did you grind it yourself?
No, I was thinking that because earlier, but yeah, I mean, sorry that I changed.
No, it's cool. I had this black mortar that I bought at IKEA, and I had it there for a year. Y ahí estaba nomás, literalmente está de decoración porque está bien bonito. And then eventually after a year I started to make use of it. So yeah, I would grind it by hand, así como, it's kind of like a molcajete, but it's like more modern.
Yeah, it's like more sleek, like more. Yes. Yeah, it's not as rocky or porous as a molcajete.
Yes.
No, and the reason I kind of went from that to that is because I was thinking like, what was your mindset when you were like making, the whole process of grind, if especially then when you were like doing it on a mortar.
Yeah.
It's, you have, obviously it's going to take you some time to do it. So I'm assuming like during that time you were contemplating something, thinking something, because you're like, man, I'm doing this, what if it tastes like crap, or what is it? I don't like it. Like all this time I invested in, it's strength. You need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pues in the beginning, there wasn't a lot of contemplation. In the beginning, I would take notes and I would write down the proportions exactly, and I would measure every single one and the whole brewing process, like how much milk do I add, how much time do I leave it for, and I would take notes like how creamy is it, how sweet is it, how spicy is it, how much depth did it have, and then I would just kind of start polishing, like, oh, I think this one had too much cinnamon, so I'm gonna like take it down a notch. So in the beginning, it was just like polishing. It was more like notes. It was more como haciendo una receta. I did though eventually go más contemplative or intentional when I sold my first batch. I made sure everything was like super clean. I was super clean. I didn't make chai hasta que like tenía que estar yo recién bañado, and I would use like biodegradable soaps to clean myself and everything, to make sure, like, even though obviously it wasn't gonna get there, but I wanted to make sure everything was good. And then I would play whale sounds. So I'd be making the chai for like when I was selling in the container, and I would have like whale sounds in the background just to be like very present with it, because I heard that it helped with no sé qué tanto. My friend Anna from
the one that went to India.
Yes, is the one that got me into whale sounds.
I mean, they're relaxing. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're weird, but they're you wonder like what the heck are they saying, or they are saying something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how they communicate through. I don't know if you've seen Finding Nemo. When Dory's like, I speak weird.
Yeah.
So you started selling with a couple of friends here and there.
Mm-hmm.
When did you? And by the way, your chai is called Magic
Chai.
How do you come up with that?
Oh, the name, actually, I didn't come up with it. My friend, see, there's a lot of friends involved. My friend, Katz, I met her at a yoga retreat. And we coincided in another yoga event. And I asked my friend that was organizing the event if I could make chai for the people. She said yes. And so my friend, Katz, she posted me on her story of me just serving chai. And she just put as a text, she just put magic chai. Y dije, oh, I like that. Like, that sounds good. I didn't think much about it like that. It was going to become the brand, but I was like, that sounds good. I think I'm going to call it that. And when I was going to start selling it in the containers, I remember I just bought a container and I'm just going to write it by hand, like magic chai, para que se vea artesanal. But I had horrible handwriting. So dije, oh man, does not look good. I'm going to have to like do a process to make it look nice. And that's when I went more into the design, into the color, and that's how like the name really started to become a brand.
Oh, okay. And then from selling it to a couple of friends, when did you make the decision to kind of like go a little bit bigger? Now with trying to open a space where people can come drink chai and be creative, or focus, and how did you make that decision, or why did you make that decision?
So the first batch got sold out, and that's I made available 48, and it got sold out in 16 hours. And so people, my mostly friends, they were like, hey, like, when's the next batch coming out? And that's when I went through that process of like polishing it and finding that one that I cry with. And that was the second batch. So the second batch, I released Magic Chai Batch 2. And I also, in that time, I developed Golden Chai, which is more for like relaxing and more for the evening. And so as when I posted that, I started to get a bunch of new orders. And I realized that like I can't do this comfortably here in my apartment in the kitchen. And so I started to look for spaces, like where can I like do this more formal and like make a business out of it. And I found this space by Walmart, where FLX is, that plaza. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, this is a good space. It's not too big, but it's not too small. like I can produce it here, but I can also have like a little ambiance where people are sitting down and drinking it in person too. And so that's when I started to visualize the space. Like, okay, what would I like this space to be to kind of complement the beverages that I'm gonna have there. And at the same time, I was developing different types of chai because I knew that I wasn't gonna sell coffee. Nothing wrong with coffee for the people that love it, but for the people that like me that are too sensitive, dije, no, I want to give an option for people that don't drink coffee because there's already a lot of options, a lot of coffee shops. And so I started to make other beverages with different intentions, more so it wouldn't just be like chai. Like I did one with lavender that's called night chai. And that's a whole concept in its own. Like the ambiance is gonna literally change when that's available, and that's only gonna be available at a certain time at night because it's night chai. Like I'm gonna use smart lights that are gonna like shift the lighting to kind of mark like, oh, it's time for night chai, and make it more intentional, like with because the ambiance can have effect on your mind, like going back to the mind. Like if there's red lights, it can make you more intense. If there's like warmer lights, you could be more relaxed. So I wanted to play with the lighting, with the music, with the sounds. So I made different chais, and then I thought, well, who's this space for? And me being someone that's always at Starbucks, like working and having meetings there with friends. There were some things that I learned there that I said, I don't like this about this space, so how can I improve that? And so that's when I started to like think about like the layout. It's not big, but el poquito espacio, like I really want to make the best use of it. And so I want people to be able to sit there comfortably, to work, to study, to talk, to collaborate. So that's why I said in the video, like, this is a space for people that love to learn, create, and collaborate. Perdón. And so the ambiance, the intention is to encourage curiosity, collaboration, and mindfulness. And that's how it started to take shape.
Obviously you've kind of been in a way an entrepreneur for a while. But this kind of threw you off for a loop where, permits, especially being a place, where you might serve food and drinks. There's more, little details that you have to take care of.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your experience, trying to get this open and where you're at right now.
Yeah.
And, the reason why you're asking for the community support when it comes to this.
So I saved up money to when I found this space. I saved up money. I gave a deposit. I started to ask around, like, because it's a blank space. Like there's nothing in it. So we have to build everything from scratch. And so I hired an architect. I remember I asked this guy, like, oh, how much is it gonna cost for like this type of plumbing? And he's like, oh, about 1,500. And so I started to calculate more or less how much it was going to cost. And I said, okay, I have enough saved to kind of like get the ball rolling. And then like the rest, I was going to apply for loans and grants and see, because in my mind, it wasn't that much. But as I started to get like the permits, hiring the architect to do the plans, going back and forth with the health department. And when I was ready to build, the architect is like, oh, you got to get a permit from the city to like build the kitchen. And I was like, really? Como, dije, bueno, pues let's do it. I want to do this the right way.
Yeah.
And so we submit the permit. They said it was going to be about 3 weeks. And then it ended up being 10 weeks. And so in those 10 weeks, I was paying rent. And what I thought the construction was going to be a certain amount, it ended up being 3 times more than that. And then the permit to construct, I thought it was going to be between 500 and 1,000. and it ended up being 4,000.
Wow.
And so the money that I had saved that I thought was going to be enough to get it going, with the time passing, paying the rent and all these things, it just ended up not being enough, and I ran out of funds. And so I was just thinking, like, ¿cómo le voy a hacer? And I was like, low key talking to some friends, like, hey, you got $15,000. And like, people with money, but I don't think they it was kind of hard, because being in the times that we're at right now, just like lending someone money in a business that hasn't shown any results in the market, that there's no other chai place. Like, no one has a specific chai. Like, some people have even asked me, like, well, have you asked yourself why there isn't one? Like, maybe it's because it's not going to work. It doesn't work. But no, I truly believe it will work. I think it's just something that's barely gaining popularity. And I think we're becoming, especially after the pandemic, we've become more health conscious. And this is definitely is going in that direction. We're all going in that direction. And this is a new beginning with this type of space that I think with time there's going to start being more and more of those kind of spaces.
Yeah, I think the pandemic really opened everybody's eyes in terms of, keep staying healthy so you can fight off, whatever variant of whatever disease comes up in the next 10, 20 years, we got for me, I was, when the pandemic started, I was, a little bit more overweight than I am now. So I started fasting. I lost like 30 pounds in that period when I was home in lockdown. And even before the pandemic, the good thing was that I kind of started, taking my health a little bit serious, especially as Hispanics. We have a lot of bad habits, like not writing down recipes, not going to the doctor as much as we should, not eating as healthy. And I feel that for me, it was a little bit before the pandemic that I started, I need to go to the doctor at least for a yearly checkup. So, but even like I said, during the pandemic, I started, taking a little bit more serious than before. And it's true, we're going to, a lot of people are going towards that healthier lifestyles and chai is, and especially because you want to serve food, at this new space that you want to open.
Yeah, we are going to offer a few dishes that are, some are Ayurvedic inspired, like the khichdi that you had. And it's going to be limited, but definitely we are going to have some food. But going back to like the health, como not just like the general trend, but more specifically here in Calexico, what kind of healthy options do we have when we want to eat or drink something? Como we're very limited. We have like to-go salads. We have 6 Jack in the Box, which is the most, for the people that don't know, we have the most Jack in the Box per capita in the United States. Also, we have a population of 40 and 6 Jack in the Boxes. And so for me, again, it goes back to like me observing our community and being like, well, sometimes I don't want to have fast food, like, and even like Subway, like it can't be the healthiest sometimes.
No. I mean, I don't even think it's that. I don't think their bread is bread. For a while they had to like change their recipe because something was in it that wasn't officially bread enough to be called bread.
Wow.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, there was some kind of chemical or something that kind of outbalanced the ingredients to not be actually called bread or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's good though.
Yeah. I haven't been there in a while, but yeah, I don't think it was, because the last couple of times that I was there, it wasn't as fresh as they say they eat fresh. But today before we started recording, we had a little meal, chichari. It's called Khichdi. Again, like I mentioned to you when we were eating, it's a good way to get full, but not feel heavy. because it's a lot of like, you know, the zucchini and avocado and, you know, the other ingredients that, you know, they make you feel full, but they're not, you don't feel like bloated or you know, it's
you don't feel heavy. Just to clarify, porque no dijiste zucchini y aguacate, no quiero que la gente piense que
it had quinoa and red beans,
red lentils,
red
lentils, basmati white rice, and all these are really easy to digest. They're you got your carbs, slow digesting carbs, you got your protein, you got your healthy fats, and you have the spices in there like ginger, turmeric, cardamom, to help with the digestion.
Yeah, and like I said, it was really good. It was the first time I tried, you know, that type of dish, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I mean, I'm assuming that's something that you would want to offer, and so because it seems like it's, you know, if you prep it, it's easy to kind of serve. And it's, you know, a fast way to, you know, get a meal going to for somebody to, you know, that's coming in maybe for lunch or something. Tell us about the GoFundMe. And I have my card here. So tell us about, you know, this and the GoFundMe and, you know, what the plan is for that, you know.
So since it took going back to like my savings and getting the space and everything just costing more than I anticipated, I was kind of like left with no option because I was applying for loans, I was applying for grants, but they hadn't gone through, and I was just paying rent. And then one day I told my girlfriend, well, if 1,000 people donate $20, like that's all I need. and then I thought about friends, like he would donate 20. So dije, maybe if I reach out to the community, like they might want to pitch in, because this is something that I'm trying to do for the community too. Of course, it's a business, but I consciously decided to open it here in Calexico, even though a lot of people were like, don't open in Calexico, like it's really difficult there, or they're gonna give you a hard time, or they were just trying to help me and saying like, te va a ir mejor en otra ciudad, from experience, not from opinion. And I was like, I understand that, I know that, I've seen so many businesses come and go, but it's because of that I want to open it here. I think that a phrase that I hear a lot, I'm sure you hear it too, Calexico has potential. And so I feel that we genuinely have this intrinsic feeling that Calexico can be more than we are right now. We have potential, and so it's not about making some huge change. I think if we all just put in our own way of contributing, like we will reach that potential, but we all have to kind of pitch in. And so that's my way of contributing and giving back to this whole concept of potential, like by creating this space for people that love to learn, create, and collaborate.
Yeah, and you know, going back to, you know, people telling you not to do it here because, you know, even like permits and stuff that you need to open a business, you know, Calexico has one of the highest rates to than, you know, other cities in the valley. So yeah, I mean, like if I was gonna open one, you know, that would be a huge factor of me deciding where to open it, you know. And you know, I'm glad you're doing it here, because I think a lot of us do notice, you know, the need, but because it's more convenient to us, we would rather take our business or ideas somewhere else because it makes it harder for us to do it here. But you know, I mean, like I you know, I'm like I said, I'm glad because you know, we need something where people can eat healthier, have a space to, especially like for me, like I think it would be a good place for me to collaborate with other people here in the valley. Like right now, I use a lot of Instagram to find you know, creative people that I can have on the podcast and talk to them. So that would probably be a good place to meet other creatives too. collaborate in projects and stuff like that. But yeah, what's right now? Where are you at when it comes to reaching your goal?
So equivalently, I have about 200 people out of the 1,000. So that's where I'm at right now. I did reach out as much as I could so far. I don't know if some people it wasn't clear, but yeah, if you're listening, that you can go to the GoFundMe and donate. Anything is obviously. I'm grateful for any support. The goal, I said 1,000 people, $20, just to make it clear. But yeah, like any amount is completely welcome. I have the GoFundMe, I have the Venmo. And I do have something though, like for every $20, I give them this card that you received for your donation. And so once we open, you can bring that card and exchange it for a beverage. And that's my way of like showing gratitude for you helping out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And last time we met, I contributed my $20, which I was really glad to do and be part of. So anything else that, we're almost at an hour here. Anything else that I haven't touched upon or talked about that you would like to, have the listeners know or hear?
Well, no sé por qué I went blank. Es because I think we pretty much covered it all. Well, first of all, thank you for giving me the space to like talk to the community. Like I said in the beginning, I've been wanting to be here for a while, so I'm grateful to be here now and to be able to talk to the community about chai and a little bit about my history. But yeah, if you're a person that truly believes that we need a space for people that love to learn, create, and collaborate, well, that's what I'm trying to do. If you want to support that, please support through GoFundMe, through Venmo, or just by sharing to reach other people.
And yeah, and you now have an Instagram for Magic Chai?
Yes.
And that's mainly where you're putting all the content for Magic Chai, and where the video where you announce your kind of like the campaign for Magic Chai. So, and I'll put a link to all your social media. That way people can reach out through there as well. But yeah, thank you for the meal today. It was delicious. The chai, like always, this is my second time. Last week, we had some chai, and it was my first time drinking chai, and I really enjoyed it as well. And it's sometimes like when people ask me or they tell me that they've been waiting to be on the podcast. Sometimes I feel like it's not that I don't want to, but sometimes I feel like it's just the universe waiting for that right moment to happen. Because sometimes, I'll get busy with when it's campaign season, that takes a long time of my, my podcasting, episodes. And then I kind of try to catch up with the ones that were already waiting. And, at the end of the day, like this, it was a great opportunity for us to get together and promote Magic Chai and your project. So yeah, I think sometimes it's just the universe telling us to wait a little bit for things to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I'm really glad to come have you on and help you promote. And like I said, you've helped other businesses in the past, help them promote their businesses. So it was a good time for me to help you out.
Thank you.
So yeah, well, thank you again for everything. It's been a weird because of the earthquakes and stuff. It's like, what the heck? But yeah, we're at an hour, and sometimes I try to keep them short so people can listen through the whole thing. It's not. Yeah. I was listening to Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee, the guy from Matt TV. He had this other comedian called Ronnie Chang, and he's from I think he's from Australia, but he lives in New York. Just because you're stuck in traffic for 3 hours doesn't mean that everybody wants to listen to 3 hours of podcast. Yeah. So I try to, especially if we're here in the valley, like say you commute to Brawley or Central. I think that's 45 true. Minutes. It's a good time for you to listen on a round trip. Listen to a complete episode. So I try to not to go over an hour. So I think we kind of hit that mark right now. So.
O haciendo fila.
También, yeah. 3 hours. The last time I did like 3 hours. So
maybe the Mexicali people should have a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah. All right, Angel. Well, nothing but luck on your project. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening or watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.